Hi, everyone. I'm Crystal, and I host the podcast Alternative Interests with my best friend, Elle. We're Washington natives that love true crime, the supernatural, and all things weird, dark, and spooky. Join us every week as we take turns sharing our own twists on the garbage humans that commit crimes, or a paranormal story that we have been obsessing over. Whatever topic we cover, this show is sure to capture all of your alternative interests. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Files Obscura. As always, I'm your host, Aaron, and today we are joined by...
Hi!
And we are joined by Nathan today.
Hello.
Yeah, Vlad, for the first time, has not been able to make an episode. It kind of just came down to a scheduling issue, which is unfortunate, but we kind of knew it would happen from time to time. So, he's off working today. But it is what it is. He's going to be gone for, a little vacay, so he kind of needs it. He's been working his butt off on his jobs. So, anyways, how are we doing today, guys?
I'm doing fantastic.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, same. Yeah, pretty good.
So, I got a bit of a beast of an episode today. I promised that we were going to be covering the Satanic Panic of the 1980s and 90s today, and hopefully I can deliver, because it was kind of a hard topic to cover. Because there's a lot of things that I had to look out, in different articles about, like looking down serial killers and murder trials and stuff like that, looking at book publications, looking at even a Senate hearing that happened in 1985. So it was like all kinds of stuff, because I didn't realize just how big of an influence music was to the whole Satanic Panic. So I had a lot of fun looking down some heavy metal and rock history, looking
Nice.
Absolutely. So it's a shame I wouldn't be able to play any of the music today because it's all copyright, but a lot of good artists, a lot of good bands to cover, so hopefully we have fun this episode. So as always, we start with two truths and a lie. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So the first statement today is that the legends that I found about, Satan's influence in heavy metal music actually can be, date as far back as the days of blues, whenever that was one of its, more musical predecessors. The genre of blues evolved into rock, and then that evolved into heavy metal. So, you got that? Okay.
Yeah.
You got that, Nathan?
Yeah.
All right. So, my second statement: the U.S. Senate would, like I said, in 1985, they would hold a hearing on morals in the music industry, where they would, debate and discuss how the music industry should conduct itself.
All right.
That wouldn't have gone down very well if they did do that.
You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised what I found. And last but not least, there's a group of ministers that I found which really kind of pushed the fear of, Satanism and everything. They used to make a bunch of booklets that would describe, cult activities and stuff to look out for their children. So that...
Aren't those chick tracts?
What's up?
Aren't those basically chick tracts?
I don't know.
Do you not know what those are?
No. I've heard that before.
I think they're called chick tracts. Essentially, they're like these little story booklets of certain things that would be bad for you, like masturbation and having sex outside of marriage and being gay. And they're often quite on the nose and poorly drawn.
Oh, that's horrible. Oh, that sucks.
I'll see if I can find some online for you, because they're so bad.
Yeah, I would like to check those out. That sounds funny.
Oh yeah, no.
Those are the three statements, that the legend dates back all the way to the days of Blues, that the U.S. Senate would hold a hearing on the morals of the music industry, and that a group of ministers make booklets describing occultic activity. Think.
This is a tricky one.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the last one because I totally see people having rumors about that stuff, like with like the blues, because like, man, some of those guys were playing some really tasty licks, and I'm sure some people were like, oh, the only way he could ever get that good is if he sold his soul, like like something like that. And then with like the Senate hearings, I don't remember what year it was, but I know Frank Zappa and Dee Snider talked to the government about censorship in music, and how they were against having a like a rating system for music. I don't remember what year that was, but I know that happened, and that seems like that was the era. It was like the mid '80s. So
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna have to say the third one, but the third one does still sound very plausible. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no. This around the '80s is when there was a massive televangelist movement that was happening across America.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy. What's the
I genuinely can't decide.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know for this one.
I promise, I wasn't trying to stump you.
We managed to, bravo.
Nice. Well, I got.
I'm saying because you sound surprised, I'm going to start with the third because you sounded quite surprised when I talked about chick tracts. So.
Okay. All right. So you both say number 3 that a group of ministers did not used to make booklets describing cult activities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll lock you guys into that. Episode. A little context always helps. So when I was looking at the Satanic Panic and looking at people's fear of Satanism and, satanic ritual abuse and stuff like that, I decided let's look at the origins of the religion of Satanism, as it's commonly understood today. So I found out that Satanism is, as described, as a modern, largely non-theistic religion based around philosophical and ideological beliefs of Satan. Often, this teaches messages of autonomy, self-reliance, and nonviolence. Anton LaVey, he would be the founder and the original Black Pope of the Satanic Church, and he and his followers formalized on April 30th, 1966. He used to be a carnival worker and a musician before holding classes on the occult, sometime between 1957 and 1960. His teachings were originally just discussion-based, but after they formalized it, it would evolve to become more of a ritual-based theatrical event with costumes and music. Which, side note, fun little fact I found, if the name Susan Atkins sounds familiar, she would perform during a short-lived event of a topless nightclub show that was used to recruit members. That name, Susan Atkins, I came to find out would be one of the women that was part of the Manson family. She was there during his murder.
Oh, small world.
Casual?
Very casual. So yeah, that was a kind of a mindfuck for a second when I found that. But as I kept trying to look more into the history to see, how much I could find out on the internet, I found out that, there was, multiple people throughout the history have made claims to being the original Satanist, founder religion or whatever, with even claims going out as far back as Aleister Crowley and even before then, and stuff like that. But one guy has, who tries to claim that he formed it first was a man by the name of Herbert Sloan. He claimed in 1969 that he formed the first Satanic church, Our Lady of Endor Coven of the Ophite cultist Sathanas, in 1948, which is a mouthful, and I can't believe I got that out on my first try.
Nice.
Yeah, some of these names that these people came up with are crazy because he is not the only one to make his own church after this. His group would focus on the metaphysical aspect of Satan and would try to compete with LaVey at this time. Often his earlier attempts included topless live shows and all that, and strip clubs. Which is a very
God love strip club.
it's a very interesting concept to me of trying to recruit people for a church with a strip club. I get it, it's a satanic church, but still, it's interesting nonetheless.
I kind of like the idea, I'm not gonna lie. It's just so strange and out there that it would probably attract quite a few people.
You just gotta ask yourself, what? Anyways, like I said, I found, that various sects, they would form over time due to, various infighting and people leaving the church to form their own, teachings and all that. One sect, would form the Order of the Nine Angels, which formed in England in the 1970s, practicing an occult-focused Satanism. A newer iteration called the Joy of Satan would also wrap UFO conspiracies and anti-Semitism into their beliefs. As time went on and the church grew, several internal schisms would find members leaving and develop their own practices. In 1971, expelled member Wayne West formed the first occultic Church of Man. And in 1975, former member Michael Aquino would form the Temple of Set. In 1982, Italian man Marco Dimitri would form the Luciferian Children of Satan. And in 1990, New Zealand would see its own sect, the Order of the Left-Hand Path, take root, focused on a mix of Satanism and Nietzschean philosophy. The religion would continue to spread through to the point that the U.S. Army even included it in its manual for chaplains, religious requirements and practices in 1978, as it is now recognized as a formal religion.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's a little bit of context I found. Of course, as always, there's a lot more information that could be had out there. But as just a brief descriptor, I hope I did, the subject justice. Because we're going to get into what I personally believe, everything I've read, there's three big reasons that the Satanic Panic really took off the way that it did. The mass hysteria that was driven by the church and concerned parents, the celebrity treatment given to killers and its victims around this time, as, U.S. saw a heightened amount of serial killers and just suicides and all this around the mid 80s, and heavy metal music. Like I said, it's important to understand the history of the devil in music has evolved. The earliest prominent moment would be of the story behind Robert Johnson, a blues guitarist so skilled with many of his gifts were given by the devil. The story goes that he traveled to a junction of U.S. Highway 49 and 61 in Clarksdale. At midnight, he met the devil, which was described to be this inhumanely large black man with a booming deep voice. The devil took Johnson's guitar, tuned it up, played a short melody before giving it back to him. What we do know for sure, though, is that Johnson claimed it took only 2 years for him to master the guitar, a feat considered very difficult even by seasoned guitarists, which, Nathan, you are a resident instrumentalist. How long did it take you to learn to play the guitar?
Well, my main instrument is the bass guitar. I've only really just played the regular guitar on the side over the last couple of years, but yeah, I mean, like learning any instrument like that and mastering it in 2 years, I don't think is even possible. I think even if you spend every waking hour, I don't think it'd be possible.
Well, it's an interesting topic to bring up because there have been other proteges like this throughout history, which one which comes to mind, which I believe his name is I can't remember his name, but it's a very famous violinist. It's like Paganini or something like that. And he actually didn't create, but he was so talented with his ability to create music that people considered his gifts that of the supernatural and gifted by the devil. Which we find...
It's kind of weird that people attribute talent to, it must be given by something evil.
Right.
But the reason that we actually found out that he was able to play so well was that he had a unique genetic disorder that grew the lengths of his fingers on his hand to a abnormally long length, where he was able to reach different chords at a faster rate that other people couldn't even do with normal hands. So he had a much wider range of chords and and stuff like that to play with. I'm not musically inclined, as you can tell.
Biologically cheating. Nice.
So, but yeah. So when I talk about Robert Johnson and his inhumane talent, to play the guitar, which, by the way, I believe he was actually more well known for recording most of his music with his bass guitar, although he played both, which is why I was asking you. I think I left that. But one of the things that made his ability to play the guitar so famous was the fact that he was actually able to play both chords and riffs at the same time, to the point that only seasoned guitarists who hear it still don't believe it, because it is, I'm pretty sure you can attest to this, that it would be damn near impossible to play.
I mean, it just depends on the kind of tuning you're in, or if you're using a capo or whatever. It's definitely it's possible to pull off tricks like that, but usually.
As someone who doesn't know music, I don't know what that means.
Oh no, it's just one of those. It's a technique that some people can use. It depends on the kind of key your song is. It's not easy to do though. It's definitely not easy. It takes some mastery of the instrument, and I guess mastering any instrument is always a relative thing, because I guess we're always learning new things. I think Van Halen himself is probably still learning new things about the guitar to this day, but like to get to that level, I mean, in 2 years, I think is quite something.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's unfortunate because our best guess is that he died at the age of 27, which makes him
just like Hendrix, man, just like Hendrix.
Part of the 27 Club.
Yeah.
Conversation for today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that is something I have been wanting to cover, because I'm a big Nirvana fan, and Kurt Cobain's in that club too.
Yes, he is.
So let's get back to it. All right, where was I at my notes? There we are. Sorry, I got lost for a second. So, I tried to find out as much as I can about Robert Johnson, but unfortunately, we really know next to nothing about him. Because he kind of was just there and gone in a moment. What we do know is that he has 30 recordings that survived, and I believe 4 albums that we've been able to find. But outside of that, we don't know where he was from. We don't know where he died or how he died. We don't know his life or how he even learned to play the guitar so fast. We don't know the facts that surrounded his circumstances of growing up. We don't know anything about him. But the legends of his ability to play the guitar, and the fame behind the legend of him getting his skills from the devil, would just be the predecessor for what would evolve, eventually into heavy metal music. As time, would go on, blues would evolve into rock music, where, the idea of Satanism and occultic imagery really became the aesthetic. When you got bands like the Beatles, they're putting Aleister Crowley in their Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts band album, when that's, going up on there. And then you have the Rolling Stones, they have, oh God, I can't read my handwriting. There we go. I was kind of rushing through this part. They would have their own album that's called The Satanic Majesty's Request, and you can start to see that, they're having fun with these titles, and they're playing around with this stuff, as kind of, the visual of the culture at the time. These, a lot of people would demonize, all these elements, even though the same people that demonize these elements, were also enjoying, Elvis Presley and stuff at the time, which was in its own right, kind of against the status quo, if you would, because you got everyone hooting and hollering about Elvis Presley, and then you have everyone's parents and everything explaining how they don't like Elvis Presley, or his, the way that he swings his hip and everything on stage and gets everyone all riled up. It's the same arguments they will be having at all these concerts for like Kiss and Twisted Sister and stuff like that. There we go. Sorry. I don't know what happened to this section of my notes, but it is just a mess. But of course, this iconography, it lasted, expanded throughout, most of the rock ages. And then, of course, when Black Sabbath came on scene, in 1970 with their first album, they would really drive the heavy metal genre, in its entirety to existence.
Hell yeah, dude, Black Sabbath is fucking
Absolutely.
awesome.
I need to listen to Black Sabbath. I've heard so many good things about them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Black Sabbath, I personally wasn't the biggest fan, but I definitely appreciated the music that they had. I appreciated what they had going on for the style, because I was, I'm fans of like, Blue Oyster Cult, AC/DC, a little bit of Pantera, Iron Maiden, stuff like that. I'm really big fans of heavy metal as a whole, but I don't know, something about Black Sabbath I just wasn't the most interested in. So,
They're one.
We need to say my teeth to their own, isn't it?
I mean, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, like I was saying, it was just it's everyone's got their own opinion on their musical taste. It just personally wasn't me,
Oh yeah, no. I mean, Black Sabbath, man, like they're so like influential, dude. Like every member of the band is like the best at what they do. Like Geezer Butler is like one of the greatest bass players.
Yeah.
Like every bass player now is a huge fan of him, and then you got Tony Iommi. Like these guys have had a huge impact on the world today. Like they changed music.
Oh yeah. No, they gave birth, to every inspirational note that's played in. Sorry, my mom just handed me a note, and I'm lost my train of thought. So, they influence all the major, well-known songs and bands that, we come to know today. Like I said, me personally, I was a big fan of Metallica, Iron Maiden, Slayer, a little bit, AC/DC, and you can hear the inspiration through all of that. And then you got, just absolute legends like Ozzy Osbourne and Dio being tied to Black Sabbath in the early days. You really start to understand just how widespread their influence was,
Yeah.
So you got bands like AC/DC, Def Leppard, Judas Priest, the Blue Oyster Cult, etc., expanding everywhere and really becoming the genre of the decade. And you're getting all the kids of the USA, all the teenagers, their new scene with all the satanic, I don't know why I said satanic
Brand new word.
and all that. You can start to see where everyone's afraid, like parents are getting afraid, with the rise of other factors that were going on at this time with, all the murders, like I was saying, all these other games, the books that were coming out. The church really tried to push all this fear going on in the culture at the time, because, and the music industry kind of made it easy at the time with all the, imagery and lyrics of hedonism, violence, and Satan himself and all that. It was kind of easy for the church to antagonize that. It was, and when you got all of your followers giving you money, when you give them an enemy and you heighten that fear, it's a bit of cash incentive for you at the time too. So that's where some, reporters I found like to speculate, really drove that as well, was that they saw a rise in church attendance and stuff like that, a rise in people going to these big televangelist events and mega churches. This is where they really start to see their rise around this time as well. And
the biggest thing I remember the Satanic Panic being about, at least from what little I know, obviously I'm not old enough to know most about it, was D&D was being like the huge thing. So everybody's like, oh god, D&D is satanic, D&D is gonna convert you to witchcraft.
So because it's an interesting thing I found out, because I only, as of last year, got into D&D, so I didn't really know a lot of the history behind it or how to play.
Oh, I love D&D.
Oh, it's so much fun. God, it's so much
It
fun.
is?
It is. I've actually been wanting to play it because my old group kind of broke up and some people moved away and stuff like that. And it really sucks.
You could do it online, I can DM. There you go.
But I'm at this point, we'd have to find a whole new circle and everything.
Yeah. True.
It's all right. But yeah, like they would say stuff like it was spreading not only satanic imagery, but because you mentally depart from reality, it's an easier way for Satan to influence you and stuff like that. And turn around now, currently in 2020, there are child psychologists talking about how you can use this as a benefit for your children, as it helps them develop, intrapersonal relations with friends and stuff like that. It develops a sense of trust and reliability, and builds courage and yada yada yada. So it's interesting to see the turnaround. How quickly we've deemed
It's nice to see, though.
Yeah, it is nice to see, but it took what, 40, 50 years? So
worth it in the end.
yeah, but like I said, the church, at the time was really spreading this mass hysteria and fear, because all these Christian communities were seeing a series of events of leading to that would lead to the Satanic Panic. Most people believe that the spark of it all came from a book titled Michelle Remembers, a book focused heavily on satanic ritual abuse, and it was published as a true account of a woman by the name of Michelle Smith. The book was authored by the Canadian psychiatrist Lawrence Padser in 1980, and took details of his patient, who was, Michelle Smith, who he would later marry. This book, when
that seems dodgy.
A little bit. Oh, this book got heavily scrutinized. The book's publication would spawn many others, though, that circulated throughout the United States and would be almost like copycat books. And it would just help spread this influence, as the most likely people to read, kind of religious accounts and stuff like that would be, Christian families. The book itself, like I said, would come to be highly scrutinized, as many who would investigate the claims, they would not be able to find any that many of the events written in the book actually happened. Like, they found no sources of occultic activity amongst the elites that was happening in this community where the book supposedly took place. There was no accounts of abuse ever happening to her or anybody else, or any abductions that would happen. Like, none of it happened. To this day, the book sparks a lot of conversation about, satanic ritual abuse and, repressed memories, as the book was supposedly written on the accounts of repressed memories by Michelle Smith. So, yeah.
Then yeah, that definitely sounds a little dodgy.
Right, especially as the theory behind repressed memories is all, is pretty much disproven. Nobody believes it. No practicing psychiatrist ever talks about it, without a sense of humor. So it falls into that realm of pseudoscience.
Yeah.
Many people, of course, would come to fear, allegations of physical and sexual abuse from the satanic cults that gained mythic status throughout this time. Many people would believe, some form of elite or worldwide cult would be out there to abduct their children or to breed them, and subjugate them to human sacrifices, pornography, and prostitution. So churchgoers, and their parents would continue to feed the fear, and would use their concerns to try to legislate, what the music industry could make. Many televangelists at this time, they would feed into the hysteria using false allegations and displays of backmasking, which became infamous around this time, to sway their audience. Which, backmasking as a whole concept is a fucking joke.
It is.
What is it? I've heard of it.
It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of.
What was that, CC? You said you never heard of backmasking?
No.
Oh, ooh. Nathan, do you want to take this one? Because I consider you the more of the musician guy.
Yeah, sure. So it's basically the belief, the false belief, obviously, that listening to certain albums backwards produces like subliminal messagery. In that when played normally, it's like brainwashing people or whatever, like kill themselves. I think it was Iron Maiden. I think what was the band that people were saying, oh, it's telling their fans to kill themselves because if you play it backwards, it says this, but like it doesn't, because it doesn't make any sense. Like you could reverse any sentence that anybody is saying, and it'll sound like you can like you'll hear what you want to hear. Basically, it's
Wasn't there
it's
that
ridiculous.
I think it was Pink Floyd or someone similar band.
Oh yeah,
that made that song. It's like Satan in a little tool shed 666. People having a panic about.
You know,
if you're looking for it hard enough, you can hear whatever you want to hear. You know, and like that's what it comes down to. Like they're looking for it, so they're like, aha, there you go. But it's not proof of anything. Like they're just being stupid. And I think that they knew that, but I mean, I don't know. Like they made a big official deal out of it. You know, had to get people, you know, all worked up over really nothing.
Oh yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Oh, the worst one, like the very famous one, the Led Zeppelin case. They were playing. I can't remember what it was, but they were playing one of their songs backwards, and you know it says "My Sweet Satan," and that was the one that like every televangelist was publicizing. You know, thing that made it work, the fear that made it work was that you only hear it really if somebody told you prior to hearing it for the first time what to listen.
That's right.
That's what made backmasking so convincing, you know, is that they would say you would hear it because you know what to look out for.
That's right.
And, you know,
confirmation bias.
Exactly. And it would lead into this self-feeding fear, like, oh yeah, look, they're putting subliminal messages in our music, you know, and it's like, no, not at all.
Bullshit.
You're crazy, you know. But it's interesting because after this happened and after this became famous, bands would intentionally start backmasking some of their songs as a form of you know, I guess Easter eggs or publication or stuff like that.
It's a slight fuck you, to be fair. A slight fuck you.
Yeah, I know Tenacious D did it on their first album. It was pretty funny.
I fucking love Tenacious D.
They're awesome.
So
they're so good.
But, you know, like I said, they would use this and it would become, a lot of bands actually gained popularity doing this, which is just, you know, hilarious to me.
I mean, to be fair, kudos to the bands, because it's going to be very difficult to be able to figure out how to make it sound like it's speaking backwards.
Oh, yeah.
So kudos to the bands for doing that, at least. That's bloody intelligent.
I think a lot of them probably just recorded them saying it normally, and then they just reversed it in post, you know?
Probably. But I'm going to be honest, at the time, like before using computers like we have nowadays, that sounds like a lot of work and a lot of work I wouldn't want to do. So I don't know, but that's just me, you know. But to kind of get back on topic, you know, there was a group of parents at this time that I would find out that would create a group called the Parents Music Resource Center. And these would contain people like Tipper Gore, who was Al Gore's wife, you know, and other notable figures that were married to senators and stuff like that at the time. So already right off the bat, you know, they have a lot of influence. You know, they would go to court and present the case that the United States would need to reevaluate how the music industry conducts itself. They made this a moral debate. You know, they made an example that by creating what was known as the objectionable songs of 1985. The list was put into 4 categories, categorized under either sexual content, violent content, drug abuse, or the occult. You know, some of these songs.
Oh my god!
Some of these songs included "Darling Nikki" by Prince, "Eat Me Alive" by Judas Priest, and "Into the Coven" by Merciful Fate. You know, and when you look at the Filthy 15 chart, you know, you'll notice that 9 out of 15 songs are all heavy metal songs. So you can see already a disproportionate, you know, hatred towards heavy metal music in this.
Yeah.
You know, a Senate hearing would take place on September 19, 1985, you know, to discuss the parental advisory label to place them onto explicit music. Representatives from the PMRC, 3 musicians, Frank Zappa, John Denver,
I knew it,
along with Senators Paula Hawkins and Al Gore, were there to testify. Frank Zappa would say, quote, The PMRC proposal is an ill-conceived piece of nonsense which fails to deliver any real benefit to children, infringes the civil liberties of people who are not children, and promises to keep the courts busy for years dealing with the interpretation and enforcement problems inherent in the proposal design. Unquote. Many would be surprised when John Denver actually sided against the censorship, being strongly opposed to it in society and the world at large. His personal experience would highlight how censors often misinterpret music, like they did with his song Rocky Mountain High. He would also compare the PMRC proposals to Nazi book burnings, expressing his views that censorship is counterproductive, saying, quote, "That which is denied becomes which is most desired, and that which is hidden becomes which is most interesting. Consequently, a great deal of time and energy is spent trying to get at which is being kept from you." Unquote. Dee Snider would also go to defend his music. He would talk about how his song Under the Blade does not promote sadomasochism, bondage, and rape, as so has been described by Tipper Gore. He explained how the song was inspired by the fear of his bandmate when feeling anxiety whenever he was about to go under surgery. He eventually concluded his argument saying, quote, "The responsibility for defending my children falls on the shoulders of my wife and I, because there is no one else capable of making these judgments for us," unquote. After the hearing, Zappa famously added parody warning labels to his Meets the Mothers of Prevention album, printed info packets, transcripts of the hearing, and a letter encouraging young people to vote. Which, all of this, I had no idea. Like, I heard about the hearing before, but I didn't know anything about it. You know,
That's kind of cool. I like they just see it in response of, you know what, we're going to get the people who actually care about this to get involved.
right?
Dude, Frank Zappa is like one of the smartest people who's like ever lived. Like, he was a genius, dude. If he was still alive, dude, he'd have so much to say about what's going on.
Oh yeah, the label itself had something interesting written on it. I didn't write it down, so I'll paraphrase what it said, but it basically said something along the lines of, you know, the content of the music you're about to listen to, you know, under a intelligent free society, would never have to be censored or something like that.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was. I when I saw that, I was like, that's a big win, because I like, for me and, you know, my personal interest in, you know, like the history of Anonymous, you know, the online hacker identity or whatever coalition, you know, whatever you can categorize it as. You know, their whole point was about, you know, being against censorship and blatant control of your, you know, your identity and stuff online. So, you know, to hear, you know, fights of censorship and stuff like this going so far back, you know, it's just like, wow, it's crazy.
Yeah.
You know. But, you know, God, what am I doing? I'm just getting to my D&D notes over here, so I'm seeing what I forgot in here. Because there's a bit of information I know I forgot, but, you know, little side note about D&D that we didn't talk about earlier is just how that D&D skyrocketed in its fame after this, you know, because of course you got all these cases of people blaming D&D and being a satanic influence along with heavy metal music. Most of your core demographic are being, you know, white urbanized children, the same people who'd be able to afford, you know, most, you know, television at this time and afford the games and luxuries and the time to play it, you know. So you already have a system that, you know, that pretty much forces, you know, all these stereotypes on a massive group of kids who, like we've discussed in our previous episode, you know, are mostly, you know, straight white males. You know, we're seeing a massive rise in suicide around this time amongst this demographic. You know, so you're casting wide net after wide net over a fictitious problem on a group of people. You know, when the issues at this time, you know, aren't D&D. D&D's not making you kill yourself. You know, heavy metal music isn't making you kill yourself. You know, the things that were making you kill yourself is domestic issues, drug abuse, and the rising availability of guns at this time. heavy metal music didn't even get close to coming as a leading reason to fear the rise of suicide at this time.
Yeah.
But of course, people, they would make up any story that they could. Like I said earlier, the church had an incentive to make people afraid of the music industry. Watching
They were there to push their agenda, like the church has done since it started,
Oh yeah. So, I would watch a lot of these old 80s and even early 90s like televangelists, talking about, rock music and stuff like that, and just hating on even Christian rock. They were hating on Christian rock, and it was just surprised me.
Oh my
Christian
god.
rock is awesome, I'm not gonna lie.
It is.
It's great.
Which is
I gotta
interesting.
appreciate it.
My father and I, I don't really listen to a lot of Christian rock now, but when I was living with my dad and everything, he would listen to a lot of Christian rock and like Christian, like heavy metal and screaming metal. And it was just really intense. So to look back at this, it's just, it's surprising, this is around the time that my dad was a teenager and all that. So it's just, it's
But no,
interesting.
on the topic of Satanic Panic D&D, I found a D&D chick tract called Dark Dungeons.
Really? Nice.
Yes, and it's literally going, D&D made a girl kill herself and made someone else turn into a witch. Look how evil D&D is.
Oh, yeah, it's just crazy. It reminds me of a story that I heard whenever I was investigating, more a lot of like local newsworthy items, which was about a boy who disappeared. He was at college at the time, and his family didn't hear from him for a while. Like 2-3 months, they didn't hear from him, and so they've hired an investigator who was like a former police officer. This investigator went in to his college dorm, and he found typical messy room and all that, but he couldn't find the kid. And he found a cork board with a bunch of thumbtacks put into it that reminded him of D&D, which at the time he believed, was influencing the kids to do something wrong, because he told himself, how could this be normal, to detach yourself from society and all this, to live in a world outside of reality? How could this be okay? That was his reasoning at the time, he said. So whenever he eventually found the kid, he found the kid completely okay. He just was kind of going AWOL for a while, he said. He unfortunately would later commit suicide after I found out. But just the reasoning behind the cop, it just kind of stuck out to me. Because there was more than just this that I found. There were stories of people, 4 teens would be part of a suicide pact in one story I saw. And the leading connection that they have is that they found a heavy metal track. I think it was a Slayer track in the cassette player. There was other stories. Oh yeah, there were stories of parents seeking psychiatric help for their kids because they were caught them playing D&D, and they were playing, making, make believe with their characters, and the parents were growing concerned. It was all kinds of stories.
Well, they still have a vague sort of leftover Satanic Panic with video games. So that's what it always pisses me off, obviously being someone who is getting into the industry. So it's like, games are making people into killers, games are making them worship Satan. Like, piss off.
But that's a rhetoric that's been spout since the 90s,
Yeah. With like Doom and everything in Mortal Kombat,
For the most part.
I played Doom Eternal recently, it's so good.
Hell yeah, it is.
I'm so jealous. I want to play Doom Eternal so bad. I love Mick Gordon. I love the music. Oh
my god, the music is so good. I love the soundtrack.
Oh yeah. It reminds me, whenever I used to play D&D, I remember there would be some campaigns that we'd play, and when we get to the big boss fight, my DM would actually play some songs from the soundtrack, like written to play. Because that would be what he lets us know when we're about to get fucked.
That's fantastic. I love that.
Yeah. But, I mean, in part, we can thank a lot of D&D's, survival today due to Satanic Panic, because when news first broke out, the creators were actually afraid that was going to kill their business, but instead, almost overnight, they exceeded orders by 400 times. There was a massive demand for D&D after the link to the Satanic Panic was going on like this, and it just
It's
made
kind of the Barbra Streisand effect, though, isn't it?
a little bit, yeah. So it's just interesting to see how these creators who were just getting by at the time became millionaires off of this almost overnight. So I wouldn't quite go to that length because I never actually looked up how much they made at the end of the day, but they made bank off of this. So like I said, there's 3 big reasons that led into the Satanic Panic, in my opinion. The music industry, the heavily evangelistic movement that was going across America, but of course our ability to sensationalize every tragedy that we see on the news. America has a unique fascination with just horror and tragedy and just gore that we see on TV. You see it all the time when news breaks out about a stabbing or a killing. It's all over the news for weeks, especially school shootings as of late in the past decade, being big news. This is at this time, this period of American history is when you see most serial killers really make their mark at this time. News, like I said, they would see the rise in suicide and violent acts, by mostly white teens at this time, which you would see all over the news too. There with this kind of environment that's going on, with the fear of heavy metal music, the fear of serial killers and satanic cults everywhere, there was reason to fear everything. We get at this time, we even get the disastrous trial of the McMartin preschool case, which I had never heard about previous to researching any of this.
What is this case?
To quickly go over, the case started with a woman by the name of Judy Johnson, a mother whose child attended the preschool. Possibly due to misinterpreting constipation, she would come to believe her child was sodomized by her ex-husband and a McMartin teacher, Ray Bucky. Johnson would later make even more wild accusations such as sexual encounters with animals and other various forms of abuse on the children made at the school. The police would send, a letter to approximately 200 parents stating how their children might have been abused by some of the teachers and other staff there at this preschool. Several hundred kids would be interviewed, but the techniques used at the time were highly scrutinized. By spring of 1984, up to 360 children were believed to be abused. Even medical examinations that were used to suggest anal penetration were unsubstantiated, were scrutinized due to unsubstantiated medical histories, and all of this would lead into casting doubt behind the overall trial. It lasted 7 years and ended with no convictions, and all the charges were dropped. Judy
Bloody
Johnson.
hell.
Yeah, Judy Johnson would later be diagnosed with schizophrenia, and she actually died of alcohol abuse before the end of the trial.
Damn.
So,
Yeah, I was going to say, she doesn't sound like somebody who's very mentally stable.
yeah, absolutely not.
What a fun life.
Go on record as the longest, most expensive court case in the history of American justice.
Wow.
It is.
That just sounds like somewhat chaotic.
Oh,
yeah, no, definitely.
It was disastrously chaotic. There were, they had, 41 children who would be part of the pretrial, and I think 7 or 8 would actually go up and stand on trial. You have preschoolers who, at the time, are very easily swayed and suggestible to say anything you want if you lead them in the right direction. So, when you got cases like this, sprouting fear of Satanism and, occultic leadership abusing your children, it's terrifying. Then you have another case, like Sean Sellers that I would find that really added fuel to the fire. Now, Sean Sellers is unique. He was actually a teen who killed his parents and a store clerk as sacrifices to Satan. Sean considered himself to be living an honest life after reading the Satanic Bible written by Anton LaVey over 100 times. His attorneys even tried to claim he was addicted to D&D and it would influence him, whereas Sean claimed he was possessed by demons.
Bloody hell.
He would later die by lethal injection on February 4th, 1999 at the age of 29. His case would spark a lot of conversation about the use of the death penalty after it had been reestablished in California, as he was one of 22 people under the age of 18 put on, death row, and he would be the only one who was actually convicted under the age of 18. Yeah, he was convicted under the age of 17. I think he was 16, just about to be 17 at the time. So
he was so young.
Yeah, but he killed his mom and stepdad.
But I still think they should have given him. I know it sounds weird, but they should have at least given him a chance to at least get psychiatric help. Like, Jesus Christ, he's not a mentally well young lad.
I think, and that brings up the argument of is he too far gone at that point, which a lot of people do use like actual murder as the point of saying you have gone too far, and it's hard to say because I don't think he was definitely mentally unstable, but I believe he was sane enough to understand what he was doing. I believe he was sane enough to know and understand the ramifications and the morality behind it.
Especially at that age,
I think at the end of the day, I think he just didn't care. Yeah. And to that point, to that extent, I say it's a case of far gone, in my opinion. I'm not a psychiatrist, of course. I believe he absolutely should have sought help to some degree. I don't know. It's hard to judge, and then, like I said, you have other killers going on at this time. The most famous, which would probably be linked to the Satanic Panic, would be Richard Ramirez, the original Night Stalker.
Oh yeah, that guy wild.
1985.
I recognize the Night Stalker name, but it doesn't bring memories straight to my head.
Man,
because
that guy was creepy, man. Oh my god.
Over some information about him, but he would be the killer that would bear the inverted pentagram on his palm. He would claim to know LaVey, though he stated he never actually entered the Satanic Church. He was dubbed the Night Stalker, and many other names he would come take on in California. He would be convicted of 13 counts of murder, 5 accounts of attempted murder, 11 accounts of sexual assault, and 14 accounts of burglary. Just an all-around bad dude.
Yeah.
Someone who just does not give two about the law.
No, he doesn't. He does not care at all. He started out originally as a rapist and then evolved into, a sadomasochistic attempt to kill all of his victims afterwards. There's a great Time Suck episode. One of my favorite history dive podcasts. Highly recommend you go check it out. It's by Dan Cummins. But the Time Suck episode, I can't remember off the top of my head, but over Richard Ramirez, about an hour and a half long. Very informative, very well researched. So if you want to know more about Richard Ramirez, go ahead and check it out. It's just my personal recommendation, just because I've listened to it for so long. But like I said, he's a very well-known, infamous killer. So I didn't feel right just dedicating a lot of time to him. But he, along with a bunch of other killers and famous sensationalized cases around this time, really would feed fuel to the fire. A lot of false allegations and other cases would happen, some of which the people are still serving time today for these false allegation charges. So and it's still not over.
I mean, I look into serial killers a lot. It's my personal morbid interest. And I think part of the reason there were so many at the time was just because it was so publicized, so to speak.
Oh yeah.
Part of the reason serial killers do it is for attention, obviously. Like, part of it is the thrill of them not knowing who they are. So they like to kill because they know they're going to get the attention for it.
Oh yeah. And you know, arguments about, you know, psychology and everything aside, it's just to see people do what they did just really shocked, you know, the American public as a whole. You know, just
Oh yeah, no.
insane brutality you would hear on the news, you know, year after year of this killer in this area, this killer in that area, and what they did to their victims and how he tortured them and how many people this guy raped and stuff like that. It was just crazy, you know, just to be afraid of your neighbor because you don't know if he's the next killer. You don't know if they're the
Correct
next.
me if I'm wrong, but I believe the weepy voiced killer was somewhere around that time as well.
The who killer?
The weepy voiced killer.
Yeah, he was.
Heard of the
Yeah.
weepy voice before?
You not
Yeah,
heard of him?
Yeah, he was quite a character, that guy.
Yes, right.
He was nasty.
Ooh, I've never heard of this. So yeah, definitely. This sounds like an episode that one of you guys might have fun writing because I definitely want to hear more about it. But it sounds like a great podcast material. So we'll put a pin in it.
Nice.
Yes, but that's up to you guys to write it, not me, because you guys know more about it already. But
I mean, Nathan and I
think-
could totally try and work on that together. That could be quite fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds like, you know, but as I said, you know, that's just an overview of a lot of what happened during the Satanic Panic. You know, there was a lot of other stuff that came under scrutiny, like P&G at the time. Even their company logo was coming under scrutiny for satanic or occultic influences. There were, you know, brands that suffered heavily due to, you know, their relations with the music industry, like Walmart. You know, the biggest provider of, you know, selling music at the time, they came under scrutiny because they would sell a lot of these, you know, albums and stuff. So they would stop pushing, you know, a lot of these heavy metal albums. So record labels would then, you know, make the initial push to create, you know, clean versions or clean albums to sell so that Walmart would buy them. And
Man,
people would
dude, like that shit is so offensive to me, dude. I hate like clean versions of anything, like because it's like that's not how it was made, you know.
Well, you know, this actually would lead, like I said, it would lead to the publication and use of the parental advisory sticker that is so well known in the music industry today. It actually gave rise to the popularity of albums that have the sticker. You know, albums that have the sticker always did better after this point. You know, and even at the point of today's music industry, most of the best critically acclaimed albums carry the sticker. You know, hell, even Kendrick Lamar's "Damn," his album contains a sticker, and even won a Pulitzer Prize for music, the first use of jazz or classical music. You know, so it's an interesting shift in dynamic when you allow people to express themselves, the things that they can create. You know,
I think it's a lot about the culture as well, to be fair.
it really is. A lot of it is about the culture. You know, but it's always evolving. But at the same time, you always have the same patterns, like I said, because the families that were, you know, scrutinizing the heavy metal genre when it was becoming, you know, famous and everything, were the same people, were the teenagers who were having fun breaking, you know, cultural norms, having fun listening to Elvis Presley and everything, you know. So it's just interesting, you know, the patterns you see and how easy it is for people time after time again fall into the same traps. You know, it's just crazy. And the other thing that I didn't comment on in my notes about the trial, or not the trial, the court hearing the Senate held, was one of Tipper Gore's biggest pushes for, you know, why there needs to be more legislative action in the music industry, was a personal experience that she commented on. So she had bought a Prince album, and I can't remember the name of the album, but it was the album that contained the song Darling Nikki, one of the songs that made the Filthy 15. And she commented how she doesn't believe that there should be music out there talking about a woman, you know, masturbating in a hotel lobby and stuff like that, to where her kids could hear it, you know. But looking at the facts of the story, the album that she's commenting on was A, made to be the soundtrack for a rated R film, B, had the lyrics printed on the back, and C, she played it for her daughter without proofreading it first, without listening to it first.
Smart. Real smart.
She doesn't blame herself. She doesn't blame, you know, Walmart or anything. She blames Prince, you know? She blames Prince for her irresponsibility. So it's crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, dude, when all is said and done, Prince is going to be more widely remembered fondly, you know, even after even after he's been dead for, you know, for a couple of years, you know, and whereas Tipper Gore's be remembered for trying to censor people. Like, no one's gonna remember her in a good light, you know.
Dude, I didn't even know who Tipper Gore was.
Oh yeah,
neither did I.
Like that was really the only thing that she ever did while she was with you know, Al Gore during his you know, political career. That was the only thing she was known for.
But it's just like, it's crazy. Like, when I decided to cover this topic, I knew a bit about the heavy metal side of it, which is what I really wanted to get into. But everything else I uncovered was kind of a weird little rabbit hole in itself that I was, you know, discovering. And it was a big question of what to cover, what's important, what gets the, you know, message across. Because this is only the tip of the iceberg of the story. Like I said, there's so many, you know, criminal cases and suicide cases that people have linked to this. There's so many, you know, games and companies and movies and other musicians that fell under scrutiny because of this. There's books that were publicized that, you know, were heavily criticized for their false representation of events and their fabrication of details, but were still used to spread this level of fear. You know, the lengths that the televangelists go to promoting backmasking as a fact, and would actually be a proposed part of legislation and looking in music, you know, by the PMRC, you know, to make sure that there was no hidden messages in there, which by itself makes no sense, because okay, you're going to listen to a track and your brain's going to be able to interpret a message played backwards like cake. Like, what?
Obviously, it's totally brainwashing. It so totally works.
Yeah,
totally.
Right.
You know, subliminal messages as a whole, you know, their basis in reality, you know, is up for debate.
Well, there is some. It's very, very minimal.
Yeah, I mean, yes, you can't say it doesn't happen, because it does. But to the extent that they were claiming, is just complete and utter fabrication and just pointless. So stupid.
Pure poppycock.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that was the Satanic Panic. You know, it was kind of a beast of a topic that I struggled to try to deliver a detailed understanding of what happened, because it was so diverse. But I hoped I got the message across, at least, of everything that was going on at the time that led to just the fear. You know,
for
had
sure.
This generation's kind of form of self-expression and counterculture. You know, you had, you know, the rising, you know, growth of a church identity across the United States at this time. You know, you had other factors going on that led to, you know, the fear of death and influence of, you know, the world. And it was a festering breeding ground, you know, of just fear. That's all it was. People afraid because of change. You know, and I get it. But at the same time, when you just allow yourself to fall into that fear, you allow yourself to just become ignorant. Because it's different doesn't mean it's bad. Just because it's new doesn't mean it's bad. You know.
Honestly, I am semi-grateful for the Satanic Panic, because it sort of gave a voice to a culture that allowed it to fight back. And it gives, and people nowadays are more than happy to be like, yeah, I'm alternative and different, and I fucking love that.
Yes, but at the same time, people nowadays abuse it to a fault, and it's become in its own form, parasitic and toxic and just horrible. And I personally believe in any aspect in life, you can kind of put everything on a scale, and somewhere in the middle ground is the happy medium. That's my personal belief. So I believe in speaking out for yourself and everything. I believe in being against the system to an extent, but to be an ignorant asshole about it is very unproductive. It's just as a whole, it becomes very toxic because you're doing you're trying to fight.
Not enough people find the middle ground, unfortunately.
Yeah, but like I said, with the conclusion of that, you guys were right. You guys won
Heck
the 2
yeah.
Yes.
I found
2 in a row.
Yeah, I found no information about televangelists or mobile churches or anything like that making booklets and about what to look out for satanic iconography and stuff like that. I found nothing, but it sounded like something that should have happened, and I missed them.
That's why I was like, plausible. I mentioned the chick tracts to you, because the chick tracts, essentially, I found them through an atheist YouTuber I used to watch, YouTube couple I used to watch, called Bible Reloaded. They read chick tracts basically, and they pick them apart. And like I said, they look at things that are declared satanic or bad, like the D&D one. I actually sent you a link to it just now, so you should get a link through to the D&D one. And there are hundreds upon hundreds of these chick tracts. They're made by a man called Jack Chick originally. I think he passed on, but they kept doing chick tracts for a little while afterwards. And it's always the same sentence. It's always the same sentence, the same message of, at the very end, repent to Jesus, come to the church, and you will be saved. If you want to read through them, I highly recommend it, because some of them are absolute nonsense.
That would be fun.
There's one of them that's actually like, haunted houses are bad, don't go haunted houses, you'll get demons.
Well, I know we were talking about making extra content for the YouTube channel and all of that, and I was thinking of some, small show that we could all kind of do, experimental content that might be something that we do, is looking into this right now, and then see what else we could explore as we grow and everything, because that definitely sounds like a lot of fun, especially I've never read a single one, so I'm really interested to see what they all contain.
Oh, you'll be blessed to look through them. I pulled up just a random search on Google, which has different. I recommend people who are listening, by the way, go into Google, just type in chick tracts and scroll through the random images that come up, because there's this one I found which just makes me giggle, which is, I just love little Stewie and it's Family Guy, and it's like, oh, but Stewie's gay. Well, see that pastor, there's nothing wrong with that. And it's them going, well, yes, but gay is wrong, essentially. That's the whole point of that one, is gay is wrong.
Right.
They have, I believe, like 6 at the very least different tracts about gay being wrong. It's quite funny.
Almost reminds me of Westboro.
Oh, basically, I believe Westboro Church does actually hand them out.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. God, have you seen some of their URLs, their site links? Oh,
I hate the Westboro Baptist Church.
I know, but it's at a point that it is laughable. It is just astounding, the things that they created. My favorite to this day is godhatesfags.com. It's so clean, so simple, so direct.
At least they're not hiding it.
There's stuff like that. Then there was one that's like God approved soldiersuicide.com. There was God hates your test tube baby or something. Oh yeah,
I'm a test tube baby. Screw them.
So it's just like, oh god, all the nonsense that goes onto that family, and it is a family, I believe. It is a family, yeah. The daughters have escaped, I believe. Well, the church as a whole is mostly one family, and one other family that in the past 5 years was actually a reporter was doing a news cycle on them and wound up falling for the trap of the church, and he and his family became members.
I just remembered, Aaron, the Chick Tracts have animated series.
Are you serious?
Yes!
We are definitely making some content out of this then, because I definitely want to watch this.
That's so bad, because I just remembered when I was watching the videos on them that they have very poorly animated series that are as bad, even perhaps worse than the little tracts that they hand out. And if I can find them, I will send them to you, because that's so terrible.
That's great. I cannot wait. That sounds like a great afternoon, like a good pick-me-up video.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna be honest though, I had a lot of fun listening to this, and I normally, as of late, have been listening to like indie pop and indie rock music and stuff like that. But to prepare for this, I went back to my go-to playlist album that I created years ago that has all of my favorite like heavy metal music from the 70s and 80s, and I just been jamming that out like at work, and to prepare, and it's been like pumping me up full of like just inspiration, because that's literally what I made the playlist for, was to be inspiration and to get like me active in whatever I'm doing, working out, researching at work, whatever, it just felt appropriate. So it was nice discovering that little rabbit hole again. Yeah. So this episode, like I said, it was a lot of fun to cover, but we are at a point now where I feel like we should announce our YouTube channel. We finally got for everyone who doesn't have access to Spotify or Anchor or wherever else you listen to, because I've been having some friends who've been like trying to follow the content for a while but haven't been able to listen to, because they live in places like Germany, South Africa, and other countries where like Spotify is banned, like they can't listen to it. So they've been asking for a while, hey, you got YouTube? Are you ever going to make a YouTube channel? I'm interested in your content, because they see the site links and everything like that. So they like, these seem like really fascinating topics to listen to. I'm really wanting to hear it. So good news is today, as this recording goes live, we have our first episode, the Kentucky Hopkinsville Goblins, up and live for you guys to listen to on our YouTube channel. And what we decided to do is we are going to be posting twice a week all of our episodes in order until we get caught up into whatever that current week's episode is. So that way, everyone has a chance to kind of follow through and listen to all the episodes as it started in order and get caught up. And you guys can switch back to Spotify for the meantime to get caught up on the latest episodes until we're up to date. We will be experimenting with some content, and we will announce when we have some other shows that we want to try to play with, and other animations, which I know we've talked about a few times on the podcast. When those would go live. So I'm happy to announce that we got that up. I'm so grateful. It took a while, and I'm happy with the artwork that you've done, CC. It's personally come up great, and I can't wait to see the assets that we create for Nathan on these later episodes.
I'm looking forward and trying to figure that out at the moment. I'm trying to, because at the moment my artwork is being a bit funny. I'm happy to uninspired, but I'll get there eventually.
I'm stoked to see it for sure.
Oh yeah, I presume you guys have already discussed what you want to do, Nathan.
Yeah.
I had some sample photos of different looks that I had. I was just like, you can just go with whatever you think is going to fit the best,
Okay.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So far, I think CC, you and I have the most original ones, even though I still kind of, kept a humanoid look for the most part. But
I have my wonderful character as my representation, and I love her to pieces.
I like the theatrics that you could probably use with mine, which you'll see. I know we've already posted an image, so if you have been on our Instagram, you'll see one of the previous art designs that you have put up. So you've seen your avatar that you've used, your Thread Girl, and my avatar. I like it because I know we've talked about some animation work with one of the sample bits of one of our previous episodes.
When I figure out how to sort it out, because it's being horrible to me at the moment.
Yeah, once you figure it out, because I can't wait to see what you draw up. I can't wait to see how the animation and the art style progresses as we go on in these coming weeks, because we've reached a point now where we are pretty happy with the content we're putting out. I'm pretty happy with the rate that we're getting episodes out. We have been seeing nothing but steady growth in our episodes. Which has been really good, because I was really afraid we're going to stagnate early on, but we haven't. So it's been a big confidence boost to see that 4 months in, we're still getting a lot more people every week listening to our stuff. We got people who are reaching out and telling us what they like about our content, and it's just been very positive news overall. 'Cause
we love the love.
Yeah. It's been great.
Sure.
My biggest fear when I started this with Vlad originally was that nobody was going to listen. Nobody would care, and I'd be 4 months in and eventually give up because I wasn't going to get any views. But I'm happy that I'm wrong. I really am. And I can't wait to see where else we go, because I know Nathan, you yourself have been talking about music that you're waiting to write and make in the future for with us and stuff like that, and with your own personal band, Dire Reckoning, which I can hear. I'm a personal fan of what you make in your free time.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, man. Which I know you created an ambient track which we are going to try and use for this episode. So
we're gonna use that for this one. Sick. Well, yeah, that riff.
I will say, we've got to figure out how to get it played and overlaid on the background. So if you hear, this is an original piece that Nathan created, and
it's called it's for a riff that I wrote for my main band. The riff is called My Alchemist. It's not going to be on the album that we're recording. Spoiler alert, yeah, we're actually recording our debut album right now. This song isn't going to be on it, but it'll hopefully be on the next one. It's just a riff that I wrote on bass, and it's something that I turned into a little bass solo and put some guitar over top of just for some ambient effects. So yeah.
See. So with you creating more tracks like this, I really come to enjoy. We still use your opening and closing that you've made for the podcast. It's just worked in so many levels, and it's just fit with what I want for quite a while. And I know we've discussed experimenting, with maybe doing specials and what we would probably do music wise for stuff like that, and experimenting and just coming up with ideas. And playing around to A, keep busy, but B, stay creative.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. I'm always down for a challenge. I'm always trying to experiment with stuff. I definitely know the next track that I do for the podcast. I want to have some percussion in it. It'll be my first time really experimenting with that. So hopefully that'll go well.
I'm hyped for you to come up with it, dude.
Oh yeah. So just be on the lookout for our Instagram and Twitter, where we're gonna be posting a lot more content about this. When Nathan comes out with more music, we will definitely be able to share it and let you guys know. And every time we got a new episode coming out on YouTube with our app with new art assets or anything else that we come up conceptual wise, you can definitely find it on our Instagram. Along with that, you could also
the Discord, because the Discord is going to have updates for us to figure out how the hell the bot works.
The Discord is open right now. We have all of our links on our YouTube videos. So if you're listening on YouTube, you'll be able to go ahead and click any of those links to join our Discord, our Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter, etc. But our Discord, we're slowly building it. Cece is mainly the one handling that right now, as she's the one who mostly uses Discord, as I'm
every single day.
Well, I'm still trying to go on there periodically and join in on the conversation. But
it's currently quite dead because nobody talks.
I know nobody talks, but there's some collaboration work I'm trying to get figured out in the future. So hopefully that'll bring in some more people. And, you know, I've been talking to some companies, and there may be one, I don't want to jinx it, to do a brand ambassador deal with me. They're willing to do it with me personally, but I'm trying to see if I can change my affiliate link into one that would be more fitting for the podcast. Because if I can get that solidified, that would be awesome. You know, so we're growing. We're definitely growing. You know, people are definitely taking an interest in what we're making. Because last year I would have never thought that A, I would even start the podcast, B, let alone actually talking to these companies and they would respond, you know. So it's, you know, just a lot of good news, you know, going forward. And I can't wait to see what we do. I can't wait to see, you know, how we grow and interact with more of our audience, you know, but that dream, you know, is growing more and more every day, you know. But I
love to be able to sit there and watch the growth, and I love how excited you get. It's amazing.
Well, it's just because every day I'm so used to the idea of this is when it stops, this is when it fails, and a lot of things in my life has kind of followed that mentality. So for every day that this doesn't happen, it just feels like even more rewarding because, you know, it's every day I'm not, you know, being proven right. It's all my hard work feeling like it's validated, you know.
Yeah, genuinely, to all of the listeners, new or old, people who've been here from the start or people who came in a couple of weeks ago, thank you for listening to us.
Absolutely. You know, every listen and every share, it means the world to us.
Yeah,
you know,
thank you.
And it's just it's a shining light to me in what we can do, you know, because it feels like we have a chance to see where this can really grow in the future. So, you know.
We're tiny right now, but the future's bright.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, but you know, without letting this ramble on too much longer, you know, we're at the end of the podcast. You know, we got some fun episodes in the future. I've got some, you know, more UFO stuff. I've got some more. Yep, I got a serial killer. Well, I won't say serial killer, but definitely a killer who gained a lot of infamy online. A dude from Montreal. So we also have a few other topics, you know, a little more general discussion that are on the plate, you know, and even a current events episode, which we might do next week if everything works out right. So stay tuned for all of that because there's a lot of news that has been happening lately if you don't really watch TV. So a lot of spy stories and stuff like that. But
I look forward to the next few episodes then.
Yeah, next few episodes are going to be fun. So with nothing else to say, I think this is going to be us signing off. Hope you guys have a good day.
Bye, everyone.
Yep, till next time.